Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Hard West. I know some of you might have been expecting another episode of Crosscode in the New Game Plus, but like I said at the end of that, I want to gauge how much interest there is in seeing some of the new dialogue that might come up from New Game Plus stuff before I decide on whether or not to, keep going with that. So, for the time being, I'm just going to go straight back into Hard West. But anyways, in the previous episode, we finished off the graveyard shift scenario by, with the Undertaker deciding to become the Weird West's greatest demon hunter, and then started Method in the Madness. Now, having completed the initial mission and deciding to go for chemistry, we are going to head over to the workshop, as is required, and buy at least one item. The item that we're going to be buying, and we have infinite supply of it, or what is essentially infinite, we are going to be buying one item of Revealer, or one unit. As you can see, we can't really trade anything. It all has to be done in cash. So,
Cliff's notes suggested the natives knew what caused the madness. Delir decided to pay them a visit and try to find out what they knew.
And we will, but not yet. It's time for us to explore the land that was devastated when the Crimson Comet fell. First things first, we're headed to the inhabited house. Solomon arrived at a dilapidated college inhabited by the Thurner family, a strange group that laughed at even the most solemn things. They invited them for dinner. Okay. If we choose to only take the family's if we accept their invitation to dinner, persons C will die and will lose their and Solomon will lose some sanity. Now, after that, you will need to confront them in order to get 15 gold and 1 blueprint. I'm not going to do that, so let's not. Solomon pointed his gun at them and ordered them to hand over their valuables. Solomon intimidated the Thurners, taking everything of what they had. From that, we will gain 20 gold, 2 assorted parts, 1 tobacco, and 1 bottle of liquor, but we don't lose any sanity. They began crying like children and pouted, refusing to talk to him again. I am going to try to avoid losing as much sanity as possible. Like I said before, it's impossible to go through this without losing some sanity, but the more sanity that you lose, the greater the debuff you get. Anyways, after that, we're going to be headed for the ghost town, if we can find it. There it is. The inhabitants of this town had become either so crazed or so terrified that they had left, seeming suddenly and all at once. Weird. Buildings stood abandoned as decay slowly crept in. Solomon wondered whether they had left anything useful behind. If we spend a little time there, we won't lose any sanity, but we'll only get 20 gold, 1 assorted parts, and 1 bottle of liquor. If we spend a thorough time there, we'll get 20 gold, 3 assorted parts, and 2 bottles of liquor, but at the cost of Solomon's sanity decreasing, so we're only going to be doing a short moment to look for interesting items. Brief search yielded several items, including a notebook of Sheriff Turner's deputy, Dead-Eyed Dean. Dean wrote that Sheriff Turner was arresting lawful citizens for crimes they didn't commit, and every accusation ended on the gallows. Sheriff Turner had become convinced that every person in his town was a criminal. After reading through the notebook, Solomon felt this tainted place had left a mark on his soul. Well, after that, we'll head for the ruined mansion. Once a majestic home, the ruined mansion now retained only a shadow of its former glory. Solomon knocked, to no avail. We're meant to have been asked a password, but no. Well, let's head for the Indian village. The natives told him about a comet that had been seen shortly before people began going mad. Everyone had twisted dreams that night. The man who lived in the ruined mansion could tell him more, but Solomon would need to give him the password. Jade is the gem of greed. Interesting. Well, before we leave, we are actually going to buy something from them. A pair of sturdy shoes. Boots of thick leather, crafted by a talented shoemaker. We can trade some stuff, but I'm not 100% sure if we're going to need some of this stuff later. On the other hand, cash is also important, but we did just get some. Granted, that'll put us in the negative, or actually in the 0. Okay then. Well, let's head for the ruined mansion. Jade is the gem of greed. In Solomon's words, the door sprang open. Behind it, an elderly man who invited Solomon inside and asked if he would like some refreshments. The inside of the house was also in ruins, and the whole building looked as though it might collapse at any moment. What can you tell us about the madness? The elderly man spoke to him about the origin of the madness. He said he remembered the night it had begun. The same night the comet blazed across the sky and everyone knew he was touched by terrible nightmares. Father Gilmer had organized an asylum in his church to the southwest in an attempt to cure the sickness. Though he was able to gain much insight into the disease and recorded it in his notes, the madmen turned on him at their first opportunity and tore him apart. At Solomon's words, the door sprang open. Behind it was an elderly man who invited asking about nearby land. Let's see. The old man spoke at length about the reactions of 3 prominent members of the community. First, he spoke of the Trumer Cliff. Why does that sound familiar? Oh, right, it's the scientist who gave us everything. An insane genius who wrote secret notes about the comet in invisible ink on top of decoy documents. When he told the story of Sheriff Turner, a wise and just lawman who became paranoid after the comet's arrival, it began a reign of terror in which he built an army of madmen and criminals who hunted like a pack of ravening wolves? Okay. Finally, he spoke of his own son, Alvaro, who went looking for an ancient native city and never returned. Yeah, we all know what happened to him. So, we can, if we have the money for it, buy a key which might open the back entrance of a nearby church. He didn't care how the old man had obtained it, but we're not going to. Let's see. And lastly, there is an old camp we can investigate. The last sanity check for now. No matter what choice, we'll get 1 Trumer Cliff note. Solomon stumbled upon an abandoned campsite, but beside an extinguished fire pit, he found Trumer Cliff's notes. They made little sense to him presently, but he thought they might prove useful later on. One notebook was entitled My Rival Inventors, and contained slanderous text ridiculing other inventors such as Tim Russell, Christopher Wilson, and Solomon Delir. Amid mocking comments about his mistakes, Solomon found an extensive deliberation on the senselessness of his past research. No matter what, we will get one of Trumer Cliff's notes. If we make him keep this notebook, he will lose some sanity. Solomon burned the notebook. In this insane land, he didn't want to take on emotional weight he couldn't handle. Solomon maintained his mental stability for the time being. Madness was a greater enemy than his past shortcomings. After that, we're going to head to the asylum to trigger the next tactical mission. Let me just make sure there's nothing else I need to buy, save from the Fate Trader. Doesn't look like it. The church had been refitted into function as an asylum. The old man had told him of this place. Solomon approached the asylum, guns at the ready. The only thing we're going to change is giving Solomon some sturdy boots to increase his movement. We're also going to open the card screen and work on something. We do have disguise. This is going to be incredibly useful, especially later on. Unfortunately, we don't really have anything that we can use to give him a movement bonus without taking cards away from B and C. So that's unfortunate. I'm going to give him disguise so that we are ignored by enemies in the setup stage, but, you know, that doesn't really do us any good. But it does give him a movement bonus. Who has the lowest amount of luck? Nobody really. So I'll give Jinx to Solomon. And Transfusion. Bonus HP. Well, again, that's going to Solomon. He did get High Card, which gives him +8 sight. So that's something, I guess. Beyond that, not much else. Searching for information about the Plague of Madness, Solomon and the Persons arrived at an old church that had been converted into a mental asylum. Didn't take long for the inmates to mutiny, however. With the staff gone, it had descended into a chaotic, lawless mess. Also, is it just me, or does Delir seem to have a bit of a lazy eye in his right eye? Could just be a mistake on the artist's part, but who knows.
The church was now a makeshift asylum, but it appeared the inmates had taken over. The madmen guarding the doors all wore deputy badges that read Turner. Delir wondered where Gilmer's office had been. Probably upstairs, he grumbled. Only Delir knew how to identify the files. He would need to go there personally.
And we're going to want to make sure we get all these notes. Okay, Persons A. Let's have you start moving up, or maybe I should send Persons... Maybe I should send Person C in first. He does have the shotgun. Also, there's somebody hiding right there. No ricochets I can use with Persons A. Ooh, that's revealed a fair number of people. Let's see, 74, 59, 74. Going for the 74. Alright. Delir, you can move up here in only 1 point. Thank you, movement bonus. But unfortunately, you can't shoot anyone. A shame. Kind of wish that this game had abilities like Overwatch or Hunker Down. Because otherwise, if you can't really do anything in one movement, because there's no point in me moving up because, well, that would most likely get him killed. So it's just a wasted action point. Ooh, somebody's standing out in the open that I can't shoot because these rocks are in the way. Aye. How about now? Really? Can't just peek around that corner and shoot him? Oh, whatever. You do it, A, Persons. $57, 70, 44. Yeah, I wish 74. Might be better for him to move in and do that. I do appreciate that if you're like right on the other side of the wall, or like a short wall from someone, that you can just shoot them immediately. Without any risk of missing. Okay, A persons, you start moving up. Delir. Could you move into a position where you'd have a flanking shot on the nun? Never thought I'd be saying that. I don't think so. Because I can't 100% tell. And I don't want to leave you just out in the open, for obvious reasons. I could move you to get a flanking shot on this guy, though. I think that's what I'm gonna do, except I gotta shoot this guy instead. God, he was there. Okay, fine. In that case, I'll have C persons move up here and try to take care of this guy. There we go. And B persons, you just move up as far as you can. Okay, Solomon, you move up and take care of the nun. Now, we are going to want to make sure that everybody inside is dead. Or, sorry, everybody outside is dead before we move inside. Let's get you reloaded and then moved up. Well, technically speaking, he is outside now. How was that a 34% shot chance? How was that 55? You had me completely at your mercy. Whatever. Delir, move over to the other side. Whoever you have a guaranteed shot on. Really? Guess Delir just doesn't have the best aim. But it didn't matter. Let's just keep moving up. They all dead? Certainly seems like it. Though I'd best be careful, he says, charging straight into the hornet's nest. Seems like they might all be dead. Doesn't bother me. Okay. Delir, you start gathering up documents.
Delir searched the room and found documents bearing Trumercliff's insignia.
And then we just have to get the heck out of here. But according to the guide, no enemy reinforcements will show up once we've cleared them out. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to send the persons first. Not what I wanted. I wanted you to move. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting anything else out of that. Or any other enemies, it seems. So I'm just going to end turn and just have Solomon run for the exit. That was a relatively easy one. Solomon leaped into his steam carriage, hotly pursued by Turner's men. No, you weren't. It was the same bunch of lunatics that had been in the laboratory when he first arrived here. He was horrified by their ferocity. Clearly, they thought of themselves as lawmen. Between their lack of fear, Turner's leadership, and the sheer numbers, it rapidly dominated the region. He hoped the documents from the asylum would shed some light on the madness and its source. Well, from that mission we got 3 cards, 75 gold, 1 blueprint, 1 of Triggercliff's notes, 1 bloodstained shirt, 1 holy amulet, and 2 ginseng. Once we get out of here, we need to head to the laboratory and analyze the data we just collected. Documents displayed a clear pattern. When patients entered the asylum, they typically got better and went back home. There, their symptoms inevitably worsened and they would return, worse off than before. The same effect seemed to happen to Triggercliff himself. The process was highly unusual. Father Gilmer was determined to find out if there were other areas affected by the plague in other parts of the country. Interesting. Well, got new locations, so let's head for the swamp. If I can find it. Ah, there it is. The murky swamp was the last place where Triggercliff had been seen before vanishing. Curious about his fate, Solomon searched the area briefly, finding a message carved on the tree in the middle of a bog. I'm at the edge of my sanity. The source must be close now. Heading north. Solomon chewed ginseng to improve his eyesight and thoroughly searched the swamp. So this is kind of why I'm always hesitant to sell off items in order to save some cash, because you never know when you're going to need them. Solomon did a thorough excavation, searching for the body. While he didn't find his fellow inventor's corpse, the ginseng-enhanced eyes did notice a tube bearing Triggercliff's insignia. It contained a blueprint for a device. Dun dun dun! Now we're going to head for the Seer's hut. An old seer was said to inhabit this small redwood house. Through an open door, Solomon can see a 2-foot glass sphere in the middle of the room. Persons advised Solomon against talking to the seer. He had heard he was a manipulative madman and that conversation with him only sent people deeper into insanity. Now then, we can choose to spend some time talking with him to decrease our sanity. But if we return after leaving, we should get a card. Oh, it's probably after having talked to him. Is the 1 card worth it? Honestly, I already have the 1 card that I really want for this, and I'm not talking about the Ricochet, I'm talking Disguise. Let's head for the ranch, because we're not going to be getting a blueprint out of this. Where is the place? Ah, there it is. The ranch appeared abandoned. A strange smell came from the barn. Solomon didn't know whether it was death, madness, or some other abomination. Okay then. If we choose not to enter the barn, we'll avoid exposing Solomon to a disturbing sight, and we'll get 50 gold, a lucky coin, a bone amulet, and a dose of opium. If we search the barn, we'll get 3 doses of opium, 1 snuff, 1 tobacco, 1 eagle elixir, and 1 stimulant at the expense of sanity. Let's not. Solomon gave the barn a wide berth. Instead, he searched the house and found several items, including chemicals and opium. Good. Good. Alright, now we gotta spend all the blueprints we've been collecting so far. How many is that? 3 blueprints. But, let's see. There's 5 levels. If we don't have enough, we can use Revealer on Truebecliff's notes at the workshop to turn them into blueprints. We can also buy blueprints at the gunsmith, the giant clock, and the trading post, but at 80 gold per unit. So, we do have 1 Revealer, but we're going to need 1 more for Truebecliff's notes. How many do we have? Hold up. Miscellaneous, Truebecliff's notes, just 2, so we have just enough. Just need to buy 1 more thing of Revealer. So yeah, these don't get restored, but there's so many of them, it really doesn't matter. Solomon created a blueprint from Truebecliff's notes using the Revealer. Made a stunning discovery. Now we're headed for the laboratory to conduct some research into engineering. And we're going to want to max it out. Solomon had yet to do any engineering research. He hoped his first breakthrough would allow him to patent assorted parts and the noise bomb. Assorted parts were an assortment of versatile parts that could fit almost any device. Convenient. The noise bomb reduced the aim and defense capabilities of enemies caught in its blast. Okay. Let's go for engineering. Solomon made his first breakthrough in engineering. He hoped his next discovery would yield a patent for the stun bomb. Stun bombs reduce the accuracy and speed of a single enemy. So he had a feeling the third would yield patents for the nail bomb and the ocular. Nail bombs dealt damage to all enemies within range, we've seen that. The ocular improved the wearer's aim, we have also seen that. Let's see, bulletproof vest. Bulletproof vest significantly improved the wearer's defense. And lastly, his gut said his next one would yield patents for piercing ammo and petrification bolts. Piercing ammo would improve weapon damage, and the petrification bolts affected a single enemy, reducing the enemy's health over time, along with his movement. Okay then, with that taken care of, purchase 8 assorted parts at the workshop and spend them at the giant clock. Excuse me. Let's see. Might as well purchase the full 8, even though I do have some. I imagine we're probably going to need those elsewhere. And it's not like it's going to cost me that much. Yeah, it's 40 gold, but meh. I got enough for now. Now we're going to want to head for the giant clock and spend those 8 assorted parts. Solomon met J.M. Hobby, an engineer who had developed what he called the world's clock. The device counted the time remaining until doomsday. Solomon asked about the clock in detail, and seeing the dedication of the watchmaker, decided it was his duty as an inventor to help with his construction. The watchmaker needed parts and the help of a master engineer. That's probably why we needed to max it out. Solomon D'Leer and J.M. Hobby joined forces to create the extraordinary clock. The gargantuan construction towered above them, measuring entropy in the air while its indicator inevitably moved towards point zero. Time it predicted the world would end. As a token of his thanks, Hobby presented Solomon with a miniature version of his masterpiece. The device was functional and could be used in combat. The Doomsday Watch, which is a trinket. A miniature device counting time towards Judgment Day. +2 damage. Not bad. Last but not least, we're going to want to head for the trading post. The Indian trading post was a modest hut made of raw planks. Miss Bradford ran the trade with the natives. Her wares included weapons, clothes, and tobacco. The quality of her wares seemed high, but so were her prices. And we are going to buy a volcano pistol. Then it's off to the railroad station. But, unfortunately, we are out of time for this episode. If you guys like what you see, please leave a like, subscribe for future content. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to get notifications for when I upload, or to hit the straw poll link to vote for our next Let's Play. And please, leave a comment down below this video. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching.